Okay, we have our stones selected. I would like to say when it comes to acquiring your stones, trying to find your sources from your rock cutters is usually the best source. I would also say when selecting your stones, make sure they're in their natural state, not dyed or reconstituted or imitations of any sorts. Some of these vary by the carat weight, some by the gram. Lapis is what I'm going to utilize. This is Lapis Lazula from Afghanistan. There's a lesser grade quality from Chilean lapis, but don't consider gem worthy on this project. The other stone I'm selecting is this is your Larimar. Comes out of the Caribbean. It's considered to be in the class of the turquoise family. Again, these will be set on the outside of your bracelet. You can use a flat sheet to kind of gauge how many stones you may be able to fit onto your bracelet. And being a jeweler for 13 years, I say you can be pretty knowledgeable in your readings and your bench hours on grading stones. Also being a rock sculptor before for 13 years, I cut rocks, cut turquoise and various stones, fetishes, marble, granite sculptures for a living, traveling throughout the country doing convention shows, judge jury art shows. So I would say grading your stones is vital to the piece you're working with, and when buying these, I'd recommend to not limit yourself to a few selections. You want to buy in large quantities, have a selection for your customers to choose from and yourself to grade. So this is what we're looking at. I'd recommend going ahead and getting your scallop bezel wire for your various stones you decide to go with. Here we're using a sawtooth scallop bezel for the teardrop lapis, and on the Larimar gonna use a scallop bezel, and gonna go ahead and add a rope to that piece. So I would suggest again, this is where your digital calipers come in hand on measuring out the metals for each individual piece, kind of creating a little miniature assembly line of the pieces you choose to make the job go a little quicker, but it is somewhat mundane in the sense that you'll be doing this for a while, so I won't make you watch that long process. I'll just show you the beginning, middle, and end section. So here I have a bezel scallop already cut to measure, wrapped around the stone, welded, and the rope wrapped around the bezel, welded, so this will fit over and thus once we get this completed, it will be welded. If I get the rock out, there we are. So this will be welded to the center of the bracelet, and so on and so on. In this instance, you may choose to go with buttons in between the projects, in between each stone. Various buttons you can produce. You like to utilize the stamping block. Melt a little sphere of silver and place that silver into your button mold in the steel block you choose, and get your steel mallet and hammer them out. And once you hammer them out, cut off the excess waste and wear your safety gear if you're going to grind that excess gear, that excess waste off, and make sure you do it above your dust collecting machine screen. Or else you may choose to, like I may choose to use a little flowers in between each stone on that particular project. With this bracelet though, I'm pretty much just going to stick to using the lapis along the whole piece. The other one we're going to probably add buttons. We'll pick up that project in mid-stage. Well, this stage of the bracelet development, I find herself to the point where using scallop, this is pure silver, so it's pretty malleable, real soft. You know, forming your scallop, your wrapping around the stones to create your little bezels that'll hold the stone, which will be welded onto the foundation here of the bracelet. So it's a lengthy process. I've gone through that to show you where we stand here. Once you have all those pieces bent and wrapped and ready to weld, making sure your corners are end to end so they'll weld cleanly. And at that point you want to get your acetylene torch ready. And here you'll find I prefer to use a hard solder. You can take preferably by the sheet, you know, cutting little strips and then cutting little square pavilions. You can then melt, getting those ready, melting those for the welding process. The most minimal solder is the best, so using hard solder and medium solder is the only way to learn and to continue all your works using only hard and medium solder. You basically, before any welding of any project, you want to get your alcohol, denatured alcohol, and your boric acid, and you want to make sure you apply that to anything you're gonna, before welding, before you flux. The denatured alcohol and the boric acid will help clean any grease, any dirts, any contaminations. The rule of thumb is if it isn't welding properly, you probably have your metal contaminated. So instead of fighting the weld, always go back to cleaning your surface area that you're going to weld, be it with more boric acid and denatured alcohol, or fluxing the piece you're about to weld, or just sometimes you'll find it quicker to grab a new piece, if you're in the beginning stage, to grab a new piece and start over again, versus adding too much solder. You never want to glob your solder on. You want the minute, minimalist amount of metal on there. Saves on the cleanup later, machining, your time, machining off that metal. And be honest, before starting difficult projects somewhat like this, you should just practice on welding bands. Maybe